Welcome to Mr. Disturbing. Tonight, we're plunging into the dark heart of the Appalachians with some truly unsettling true horror stories. That'll keep you up all night. If you're brave enough, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next descent into fear. My name is Lucas Hart. I'm 40 years old. I live in Pikeville, Kentucky, right along the folds of the Central Appalachians. I'm a wildlife pathologist. I work with state and federal agencies, investigating disease events in wild animal populations. It's not glamorous, but it takes me into some of the most remote corners of these mountains, places most people have long since forgotten. I thought I was used to strange. I've seen more than my share of sick animals, strange carcasses, odd forest happenings. But nothing prepared me for what I encountered last spring, deep in the Grayson Highlands near the Virginia border. The call came from a local ranger. Reports of multiple dead deer found clustered in a drainage hollow, no visible wounds, no clear signs of predation. It was early April, still cold in the high country. I loaded my kit, protective gear, field necropsy tools, sample vials, and drove out alone. The area wasn't on any active trail system. The ranger had sent rough GPS coordinates, no marked path. I bushwhacked in from an old logging cut, miles from the nearest road. The forest there was dense, heavy with old hemlocks and tulip poplars. The air was damp, thick with mossy rot. An hour in, the first sign hit me, a rancid metallic stench that hung low in the air. I followed it down slope and found the first carcass, a doe lying twisted beneath a laurel thicket. No scavenger marks. The body was bloated, but the eyes, oddly, perfectly preserved, glassy and wide, staring. 10 yards further, another, a young buck, collapsed mid-stride. Same preservation, no trauma. Then more. I counted 7 deer in total, scattered across a narrow, boggy hollow. No blood, no drag marks. Just dead, as if dropped. The ground beneath them was strange, spongy, blackened soil slick underfoot. My boots left no prints. I began taking samples. That's when I noticed something else. Small spiral formations in the surrounding moss, as though something had pressed into the ground in a deliberate pattern. At first I thought it was coincidence, animal movement, weather. But the spirals repeated. Exact, consistent. The deeper I moved into the hollow, the more intense the odor grew. Not just rot, but an acrid tang of iron and something chemical, like burnt stone. My instrument started acting strange. Thermometer spiked erratically, digital recorder hissed with static. I pressed on, driven by equal parts curiosity and unease. Then I found it, the first sign that this was no natural event. Half buried in the bog was a boot, old leather, cracked. I pulled carefully. The boot came loose, and with it, a skeletal foot, still laced inside. My breath caught. No clothing, no sign of a body, just that lone foot, left behind. I marked the location, pushed deeper. Less than 50 yards in, the hollow opened into a broader clearing, unnaturally circular, ringed with ancient stone outcrops. The ground there was stripped bare, down to clay. And in the center, a rough pit, maybe 10 feet across, its rim lined with stacked bones, deer, raccoon, smaller mammals, and unmistakably at least 2 human skulls, bleached and cracked. My stomach turned. The pit exhaled a low, moist heat, carrying that same metallic scent. The forest was dead silent. No birds, no insects. Just that suffocating stillness. I approached carefully, photographing everything. My radio failed. Static only. I noticed the same spiral patterns scratched into the stones, burned faintly into the clay. Then, above, a sudden movement. A black mass of crows erupted from the trees, shrieking, scattering into the gray sky. I spun, pulse hammering. That was when I saw it. something pale and tall, moving between the trunks beyond the clearing. No clear form, just long limbs, unnatural angles, too fast. Gone in a blink. The hair on my neck rose. Every instinct screamed to run, but I forced myself to document the sight, fingers trembling. As I turned to leave, one last horror awaited. Slumped against a moss-slick stone, half hidden, was a torso, human. No arms, no head. Flesh gray and waxy, skin marked with spirals. Carved deep into the muscle. Flies clustered, but no sound came from them. No buzzing, just silence. I fled. No shame in it. I sprinted back through the brush, lungs burning, the metallic scent clinging to my clothes. The forest seemed to close in, the light dimming though the sun was high. By the time I reached my truck, hours had passed, though my watch read the same time as when I'd entered, 3:03 p.m. frozen. The drive back was a blur. I filed no official report. The ranger who'd called me never answered my messages again. Days later, when I tried to access the GPS data, wiped. The coordinates gone. My field photos, corrupted. Every file overlaid with strange static, faint spirals etched into the image noise. And worse, the dreams began. Of that pit, the bones, the pale thing watching, and the forest breathing, alive beneath the soil. Something waits there, in that hollow, and now it knows me. For days after, I tried to convince myself I'd imagined it. Stress, fatigue, maybe bad air in that hollow. But deep down, I knew better. The images haunted me. The pit of bones, the torso carved in spirals, the boot with its skeletal foot, the pale shape moving through the trees. I stopped answering work calls. I barely left my apartment. Every night brought the same pattern. Vivid dreams of that clearing, of moving soil, of the pit growing wider, deeper. In those dreams, I could hear the forest breathing, a slow rumble beneath the earth, each breath timed like a distant drum. And the smell, I could still smell it when I woke, wet iron and rot, no matter how many showers I took. Then the signs began to show up here. The first time was on my kitchen counter. A faint spiral etched into a coffee ring on the wood, then in condensation on my bathroom mirror. The marks appeared even when I wasn't home, once on the inside of my truck windshield. Worse still, my apartment grew cold, unnaturally so. I'd wake shivering, skin clammy, breath visible in the air though the thermostat read 70 degrees, and always at the same time, 3:03 a.m. Just like my frozen watch in the woods, lights flickered, electronics failed. My phone alarm triggered itself at that hour, even when I disabled it. Then came the crows. They began gathering outside my window, first 3 or 4, then dozens, silent, staring. No calls, just black eyes fixed on me. When I opened the window to scare them off, they simply watched, unmoving. Neighbors noticed. One morning, an old woman who lived down the hall stopped me in the stairwell. Her voice shook. "You brought something back," she said. "From the high woods. I can see it on you." I didn't ask how she knew. I didn't want to. The next day, a small package arrived. No return address, postmarked from some tiny town in Virginia I didn't recognize. Inside was a rough stone disc, cold as ice, carved deep with a familiar spiral. No note, no explanation. The moment I touched it, the breathing returned. Louder now, as though pressing through the floor of my apartment. I dropped the stone, but it remained cold even after hours in the warm air. I started hearing things. Soft footsteps at night, pacing the hallway outside my door. A slow drag, then silence. More than once, I found black feathers on my doorstep, slick with some oily residue. My neighbors began avoiding me. One moved out. The landlord wouldn't return my calls. I tried leaving, packed a bag, drove west for 2 days. but it followed. First, the dreams, then the spirals. On motel mirrors, on paper receipts, on the glass of gas station doors, no matter how far I went. And worse, the animal deaths. I began finding them wherever I stayed. Small mammals at first, dead birds beneath my windowsill, no wounds. Eyes wide and clear, just like the deer I'd found. Once a feral cat laid out stiff on my motel doorstep, a faint spiral carved into its flank. I stopped running. It was pointless. Something had bound itself to me, something from that hollow. The worst came 2 weeks ago. I'd started keeping my windows covered, door locked, lights on all night. But at exactly 3:03, everything shut down. Lights, appliances, phone, darkness, total and absolute. I heard it then, not footsteps this time, but a low grinding sound from my living room wall. Like something pressing slowly through the plaster, then breathing. Close, wet, heavy. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Minutes passed, or hours. Then, just as suddenly, the power returned. The room was empty, but where the wall had been smooth, there was now a faint spiral burned into the paint. The edges still warm to the touch. Since then, the signs have only grown. More spirals, more dead animals. The crows now perch along the fire escape, sometimes tapping at the glass with sharp beaks. And each night, the dreams deepen. I see the pit widening, the human bones sinking into soft black earth. And beneath it all, something vast, something old, unfurling in the dark below. Its hunger pressing outward. It's not finished with me. I know that now. The pull is growing stronger each night. And when it calls again, really calls, I don't think I'll be able to resist. I no longer pretend this is something I can control. The thing from that hollow, it's inside me now. Not physically, no, but in ways I can't shake. It's under my skin, in my head, moving through my life in ways that defy explanation. Every night, I wake before the clock ticks over. I sit in the dark, listening. The breathing is louder now, not beneath the floor, but within the walls themselves, pulsing in time with my heartbeat. The air in the apartment is never quite right anymore. Damp, cold, carrying that same faint iron tang. I've stopped inviting anyone over. The last friend who visited left after 10 minutes, pale and shaking, muttering that the place felt wrong. They won't answer my messages now. I can't blame them. The spirals are everywhere, not just on surfaces, but in the grain of the wood, in the folds of fabric, in the patterns of frost on my windows. I see them even when I close my eyes. Worse still, the animal deaths have escalated. It started with small things, now larger. A week ago, I found a coyote carcass draped across the hood of my truck, spiral symbols carved deep into its haunches, tongue bloated and black, no blood trail, no sign of how it got there. The next morning, a feral hog, torn open, placed deliberately at the edge of the apartment parking lot. No one saw who brought it, no cameras caught it. The police filed no report, said it was probably a prank. But I knew better. The crows still come, hundreds now, gathering on rooftops, on wires, circling in silent, watchful flocks. They no longer move when I approach. They only stare. And in the early hours, I hear voices, soft, layered whispers that rise beneath the breathing, calling from somewhere I can't see. They speak in a tongue that slides through my mind, impossible to hold, yet full of meaning. The message is always the same: return, the path is open. I know what they want. I know where it leads. The pull is constant now, a low, thrumming urge in my bones, stronger with each passing night. And the signs grow darker. 2 nights ago, when the power failed at 3:03 as it always does, I woke to find my living room cold as a grave. And in the center of the floor, a human tooth, small and yellowed, spiral carved faintly into the enamel. I don't know where it came from. I don't want to know. But the message was clear. I'm not the first. I won't be the last. And I won't be allowed to run. The dreams are changing too. I no longer see the hollow as it was. I see it deeper now. The pit widened, spirals burned into the earth, new bones added to the stack, some fresh, red with blood, and something else, something vast, coiled beneath the soil, shifting with hunger, ancient beyond comprehension. It's awake now, it's watching, and it wants me back. I've stopped resisting. The truck is packed. I've mapped the old logging route again. I know the way. I know the time. The crows will follow. The spirals will guide me. And when the pit calls, I will answer. Because in truth, I already have. There's no escaping it now. I was marked the moment I stepped into that clearing. Whatever is beneath those mountains, it's part of me. And soon, when I cross that last ridge and the earth breathes deep, I'll return to where I belong. And this time, I won't be coming out.